Lately, I've been thinking of self love as an action, as a practice, something that I do, something that I am choosing to practice over and over again in my life, regardless of how I'm feeling about myself. And one of the actions of self love that I take for myself is cleaning my room. I will carve out a few hours. I'll turn on some music, open a window, and I will dance and I will clean and I will cuddle my dog in between. Yes, I know that rhymed. And it may seem like a very small thing, but when you are depressed, it's very common for your physical space to get worse and worse in terms of messier and messier as your mental health gets worse and worse. And that's what was happening to me the week or two before I filmed these videos of me cleaning. I do take Lexapro every day, and that's been helping a lot. But apparently, for those 2 weeks, the Lexapro was not strong enough to keep me from slumping down into a pretty bad depression. And for me, it usually doesn't manifest in being unable to get out of bed, but it's more like somehow I make it through work, and when I get home, I crawl right into bed. On the Sunday morning, I was feeling just enough energy to take this act of self-love and clean my room. Every time I am moving my body, getting into the music, and watching my space be cleaned and organized and put back to the way that I have arranged all of the things that I've chosen to keep around me that have memories attached and meaning that I have ascribed to these things, I start to feel more grounded and more okay. I still felt sad, but I also had moments of joy in the music, in the act of cleaning and organizing, and just a gratitude for being alive, having the choice to love myself in this small way. If self-love was just a feeling, it would never be attainable for me. Even though I want to love myself so badly, and I try so hard, I very rarely feel self-love. My default feeling towards myself, to be honest, is self-aversion. I have feelings? Gross. I have needs? Disgusting. And I'm someone who really loves human beings. So it's not an aversion to the human experience, it's an aversion to me, to myself, to being in my body, existing with myself. And there's so many reasons for that. Societal messages, childhood trauma, the list goes on. And it's not just those things that have influenced me, it's also me continuing those messages by telling myself those messages over and over again. And just to be clear, I'm not blaming myself here. I'm just stating a fact that the more that I tell myself these messages, the stronger that they get. And so I am gently working on doing the opposite. And telling myself doesn't always work. Sometimes it just makes me feel silly. So sometimes I have to show myself. And that's what I do when I clean my room. I show myself, you deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve to live in a clean, uncluttered space. You don't feel like you do. You feel like you deserve to have the bare minimum existence, but that's not actually true. You do matter. You do have worth. One of my favorite quotes about self-love comes from the book All About Love by Bell Hooks. In chapter 4, she writes, "In an ideal world, we would all learn in childhood to love ourselves. We would grow, being secure in our worth and value, spreading love wherever we went, letting our light shine. If we did not learn self-love in our youth, there is still hope. The light of love is always in us, no matter how cold the flame. It is always present, waiting for the spark to ignite, waiting for the heart to awaken and call us back to the first memory of being the life force inside a dark place, waiting to be born, waiting to see the light." The first time I read that, tears came to my eyes right away. I find it so powerful and so full of hope, because I, like so many people, did not learn self-love in my youth. I learned to actively do the opposite. If self-love is an action and a practice, I was acting and practicing in a way of putting myself down, making myself small, neglecting myself in all sorts of ways. And those patterns build up over time. And sometimes it just feels so overwhelming to try to break them, to try to learn how to counter years and years and years of conditioning. But I love what Bell Hooks says here. This idea that love is a light that is always inside. That is such a powerful metaphor, to think of it like a flame that, it might get really small to just a tiny little flicker, but it's there. It's always there because it's part of who we are as human beings. I love the idea that I and others have the choice to fan that flame, to remember that it's there and tend to it, to cup your hands around the little flame so that the wind isn't blowing it out. And the wind could represent so many things that are trying to snuff out the light of love. In my experience, as I love myself more, I have more love to give to other people. A love that is stronger, more resilient. It's a lifelong journey. It's a pretty difficult path at times, but cleaning my room is usually a pretty good first step.